Have you ever walked into a room and felt the shift, subtle, almost invisible, yet heavy enough to pierce your chest? Eyes glance, voices soften, and though no one says a word, you sense it. Respect has already been taken from you. It cuts deeper than an insult because it lingers in silence. The truth is, most of the time it isn't bad luck or people being unfair. It's the small things we do without knowing. Habits so ordinary, so automatic, that they slowly chip away at how others see us. I've carried them myself, thinking I was being harmless, until I noticed the distance, the closed doors, the unspoken doubt in someone's eyes. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Yet how can we be if we don't even see the habits that erode us? Today, we step into that mirror. 7 habits, quiet but destructive. Perhaps you'll recognize them. Perhaps you'll see yourself. Stay with me. This may explain more than you realize. As we step into the first chapter of this journey, picture the quiet sting of a room turning cold. You laugh, you share, you feel included, yet something unseen has already fractured. Respect, once present, begins to slip away, not because of what was done to you, but because of what you said about someone who wasn't even there. Now imagine this scene. You sit with colleagues, the conversation drifts, and a name surfaces. A small detail about their life leaves your lips, casual, harmless, even playful. The group chuckles, yet beneath the laughter, a wall of mistrust rises. For while they hear your words about another, they silently ask, "What will be said about me once I walk away?" This is the poison of gossip. It disguises itself as connection, the quick road to belonging. Seneca warned, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." Gossip is not that road. It is the shortcut downward. It feels like relevance but carries rot. Each word against another is not a stone thrown outward, but one dropped on your own foundation. I know this poison. I have spoken words to fill silence, to win approval, to feel significant. And later I felt the quiet recoil, a friend more distant, a colleague less open, a bond suddenly shallow. I thought I had added, but I had subtracted. I thought I had built, but I had dismantled. Trust is not easily earned, yet it is fragile. Years of building can collapse in one careless sentence. Reputations shatter faster than glass, and unlike glass, they rarely piece back together. Gossip does not just bruise the absent, it scars the speaker. Epictetus reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Gossip rebels against this wisdom. It is chatter without courage. Its danger lies in its ease. It asks nothing but betrayal, betrayal of another, betrayal of yourself. But gossip distracts as much as it destroys. Every word about another's faults is a moment stolen from your own growth. Seneca wrote, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today." When you gossip, you lose your today. You avoid the hard work of shaping yourself by mocking another's cracks. You escape your own mirror by pointing at someone else's. In our time, this danger multiplies. A careless remark is no longer confined to a room. Social media is a megaphone. One phrase in passing can circle back like a storm. We've all seen lives undone by words that refuse to stay small. So why risk it? Why trade integrity for fleeting relevance? The Stoic answer is not silence born of fear, but silence born of strength. Redirect the current. Say, "I'd rather not talk about them when they're not here," or change the subject with calm authority. At first, it feels awkward, but in time, people notice. They see you rise above the petty. They see you as someone safe, someone whose words guard rather than wound. And here lies the paradox. By refusing to gossip, you gain what gossipers chase but never catch: respect. Not the hollow nods of amusement, but the deep trust of those who know their lives are safe in your silence. In a noisy world, restraint is rare, and rare things are precious. So the next time the urge stirs, pause, ask, what kind of person do I want to be known as? The one whose tongue is quick but untrusted, or the one whose silence commands respect? Marcus Aurelius urged, waste no more time on what others do or say. It's your own actions that should concern you. Let your action be this: cut gossip at its root. Build instead of break. Guard your tongue as you would guard your honor, because in the end, they are the same. This is where respect begins and where gossip dies. Moving into the second chapter, picture the silence that cuts deeper than words. Someone asks how you're doing. You smile faintly, whisper, I'm fine, but the weight in your voice betrays you. The room feels colder, the air heavier. It's not a war of words, but a quiet battlefield where no one truly knows what's happening. Now imagine the confusion in the person standing across from you. They sense something is wrong, but your clues are wrapped in sarcasm, half smiles, or the dreaded silent treatment. It drains them. It drains you, and in the end, nothing is solved. Only trust erodes. How many times have you expected others to decode your sighs, your sharp jokes, your pauses, only to be disappointed when they didn't? Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Passive aggression is the refusal to react honestly. It is hostility disguised as subtlety. It feels safe, but it's poison. Instead of confronting the storm directly, you release a fog. The problem is, no one can see clearly inside that fog, not even you. I once knew a friend, let's call him John. When upset, he never raised his voice. Instead, he withdrew into silence or shot arrows wrapped in humor. I guess it's too much to ask for help around here, he'd mutter. His partner stood puzzled, never knowing whether he was joking or wounded. Over time, the distance grew. Conversations shrank, until one day she stopped asking altogether. By then, the silence had done more damage than an argument ever could. John realized, too late, that avoidance had stolen what honesty might have saved. This is the hidden tragedy of passive aggression. It doesn't protect relationships, it starves them. It doesn't guard peace, it breeds mistrust. People can sense your unhappiness, but when you mask it, you leave them guessing. And living in constant guesswork is exhausting. Respect withers where clarity is absent. Marcus Aurelius warned, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. A good man doesn't hide behind games. If something weighs on him, he brings it to light, not with rage, but with calm and truth. Honesty may risk conflict, but dishonesty guarantees decay. At work, the damage is just as sharp. A colleague misses a deadline. Instead of addressing it directly, you fire off a sarcastic email, or worse, withdraw cooperation. The project suffers. Your reputation shrinks. Because leaders are not those who make others walk on eggshells. Leaders are those who create ground strong enough for everyone to stand on. Why do we cling to passive aggression? Fear. Fear of confrontation. Fear of rejection. Fear of vulnerability. But here's the paradox. What we fear could actually strengthen us. Healthy conflict, approached with respect, builds trust. It shows others they can count on us to be real, not hidden behind masks. Avoidance is not peacekeeping, it's peace-breaking. So ask yourself, how would your relationships change if you stopped playing shadow games and spoke with clarity? Imagine the relief in your partner's eyes when you finally say, "This bothered me." Imagine the trust in your colleague when you calmly address what went wrong instead of punishing them in silence. The Stoics remind us that integrity is born in the moment we choose truth over pretense. As Epictetus also said, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Passive aggression fools us into thinking we're protecting ourselves. In reality, we're denying ourselves growth. Here is the sharper truth. People respect courage, not cryptic hints. They respect the man who risks vulnerability to preserve honesty. They respect the one who speaks with both kindness and firmness. Passive aggression is a mask. Masks may hide your face for a while, but they never earn respect. At this stage, the choice is simple, yet hard. When tempted to drop a sarcastic remark or retreat into silence, pause, breathe, ask, "What am I really trying to say?" And then say it, not with venom, but with clarity. Because clarity heals where silence corrodes. Respect comes not from the games we play, but from the truths we carry. And the man who chooses truth, even when uncomfortable, is the man whose presence commands trust. This is where honesty becomes strength, and where respect truly begins. Advancing to the third chapter, picture the figure who always has an excuse ready on their lips. The deadline missed, someone else didn't send the file. The mistake at work, the system failed. The failure in life, fate was against them. They stand in the ruins of their own choices, but their hands point outward, never inward. And what they don't see is how quickly respect drains from the eyes of those around them. Now imagine yourself in their place. Have you ever caught that reflex? The quiet whisper, "It's not my fault." It feels safe to shift the weight away. But every time you do, you hand away something far greater, your power. Because when you blame, you announce to the world that you are not in control of your own life. You declare yourself a passenger, not the driver. And passengers never decide the road ahead. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, struck to the heart of it. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Life will throw obstacles, unfairness, failure. That is guaranteed. What defines your character is not the event, but the choice that follows. To blame is to surrender. To take responsibility is to rise. Look at Michael Jordan, often called the greatest to ever play the game. He missed more than 9,000 shots. He lost nearly 300 games. 26 times he was trusted with the final shot and failed. But he owned every one of those failures. And he said, "That is why I succeed." Imagine if he had blamed coaches, teammates, referees. He would have been forgotten. Instead, he turned failure into fuel. Ownership made him a legend. The same principle applies to us. Did you show up late? Own it. Missed a deadline? Don't point to the software. Admit you could have planned better. It seems small, but each admission builds something immense. Trust, reliability, respect. People begin to see you as capable, not because you never stumble, but because you stand tall after you do. Seneca once wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." Avoiding responsibility is cowardice disguised as self-defense. We don't dare to face the truth, so we create difficulty where none was needed. But when you take responsibility, even when uncomfortable, you break through. You grow. You become stronger, more resilient, more worthy of respect. Think of your own life. Do patterns repeat? Failed relationships, missed chances, restless dissatisfaction. It is tempting to say, "She didn't understand me," or "My boss plays favorites." But what happens when you ask, "What could I have done better?" Suddenly, the power returns to you. You move from victim to creator, from excuse to growth. That shift changes everything. Marcus Aurelius gave us this reminder: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Responsibility is not about perfection. It is about honesty with yourself, with others. It is about saying, "I own my actions. I own my mistakes. And I own the power to change." So the next time your mouth forms an excuse, pause, breathe, ask instead, "What can I learn here? What can I own?" Each time you choose responsibility, you carve out respect, not just from others, but from yourself. And self-respect is the root of all lasting strength. At this stage, the truth is clear. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a key. It opens the door to freedom, success, and fulfillment. And the one who dares to hold that key walks a path no excuse maker will ever find. Entering the 4th chapter, picture the moment you walk into a room filled with strangers. You haven't said a word, yet judgments are already forming, not by your wisdom, not by your achievements, but by your appearance, your scent, your presence. Respect can be lost before a single sentence leaves your mouth. Now imagine meeting someone who steps into a gathering with unkempt hair, wrinkled clothes, or the sharp sting of neglect that lingers in the air. It may seem shallow, but it happens instantly. People withdraw. They think, if he cannot care for himself, how can he be trusted with anything greater? In that moment, the door to trust quietly closes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What you carry within will show itself without. A neglected body often whispers of a neglected mind. Discipline ignored in the small things hints at disorder in the larger. Hygiene, then, is not vanity. It is a reflection of your respect for yourself and for those around you. Consider this: personal hygiene is the foundation of self-respect. Neglecting the basics is like rust on steel, silent but relentless. You may be intelligent, skilled, even kind, but if the foundation is weak, people will not see past the cracks. First impressions are not everything, but they are the gate you must walk through. Walk through it disheveled, and few will wait long enough to hear your voice. I once saw this truth unfold in a workplace. A man, brilliant with numbers, consistently showed up with stained clothes and careless grooming. His ideas were strong, but in meetings, the distraction was stronger. Colleagues focused less on his words and more on his presentation, or lack of it. Over time, his brilliance dimmed, not because it wasn't real, but because it was hidden behind the noise of neglect. His career never grew as it could have, not because of his mind, but because of his disregard for the simple. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. If you wish to be respected, start with the basics. A clean shirt, brushed teeth, hair kept in order." These acts may feel small, but they whisper loudly, "I value myself. I value your presence. I respect this moment." They cost little, but return much. And let's be honest, neglect grows quickly. One skipped shower becomes a pattern. One careless day of wrinkled clothes turns into indifference. Habits shape destiny, and hygiene is no exception. What you allow repeatedly will soon define you. The slippery slope begins silently, until it becomes the image others hold of you. But hygiene is not just about how you look or smell, it is about how you make others feel. Poor hygiene creates discomfort. People may never tell you directly, but they will step back, shorten conversations, avoid closeness. It is not hatred, it is self-preservation. Without knowing it, you build walls that separate you from deeper trust, friendship, and respect. Now reflect on the inner world. Neglect of the body often signals neglect of the mind. Stress, depression, or fatigue can make us let things slide. But Stoicism reminds us of choice. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Even in chaos, you can choose to keep order in yourself. Maintaining hygiene is a quiet act of resilience, a way of telling life, "You will not undo me." Seneca reminded us, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Caring for yourself, even in small ways, is part of that friction. It is practice in discipline, in order, in respect. These daily acts polish not only the body, but also the soul. So ask yourself, how different would your interactions feel if you walked into every room knowing you were clean, prepared, presentable? How much more confidence would rise in you if your appearance matched the dignity of your character? People notice. They may never speak it aloud, but they carry the impression with them. At this stage, the lesson is simple but sharp. Hygiene is not trivial. It is respect in its most visible form. Neglect it, and you close doors before they open. Master it, and you show the world you value both yourself and those you meet. And from this foundation, respect grows. From here, let us step into a habit so subtle, so ordinary, that it feels almost invisible, yet it eats away at respect like acid on metal: complaining. At first glance, it looks harmless. Everyone vents. Everyone sighs about the weather, mutters about traffic, groans about a long day. A little release, we tell ourselves. But when complaint shifts from momentary release to constant companion, it reshapes how the world sees you and how you see yourself. Picture this. A colleague walks into the office. Before they sit down, they're already grumbling. The coffee's weak, the boss unfair, the pay too small. The room shifts. People listen politely, maybe even agree. But with time, the atmosphere grows heavy. You start to avoid them, not because of cruelty, but because their presence drains. And here's the danger. Negativity spreads. Just as yawns are contagious, so are complaints. Sit long enough in that smoke, and you begin coughing too. Epictetus warned us, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Complaining is a reaction dressed as control, but in reality, it is surrender. Instead of asking, "What can I do?" the complainer sighs, "Why me?" That question chains a person to their suffering. They become defined not by the strength they summon, but by the noise they make. I knew a man once who lived in this cycle. Every day he cursed his job. His boss was unfair, his co-workers lazy, his pay inadequate. He repeated it like prayer, except his words offered no salvation. His friends listened at first, then slowly they drifted. Not because they lacked compassion, but because his words never changed. He never sought a new role, never confronted his boss, never worked on his own growth. His voice became a drumbeat of defeat, and in the end, his loneliness was deeper than his work problems. He believed life had betrayed him, but in truth, he betrayed himself by refusing to act. Respect cannot grow in such soil. People admire those who face storms, not those who point endlessly at clouds. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The complainer declares powerlessness. The one who acts or accepts declares freedom. Think of the hidden cost. Every complaint sows doubt in the minds of those who hear it. They begin to see you as weak, as trapped, as someone defined by frustration rather than resilience. And slowly, they pull away, not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. You're left with fewer allies, less respect, and a heavier burden to carry alone. Now flip the perspective. Imagine sitting in traffic. Horns blare, cars crawl. Your instinct rises to sigh, curse, slam the wheel. But then you pause, you breathe, you think, the traffic is not mine to control, my patience is. In that instant, nothing changes outside, but everything changes inside. The road remains slow, but your mind walks freely. This is Stoicism alive in practice. Control what you can, release what you cannot. Complaining is easy, endurance is not. Seneca gave us the sharper line. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. A strong man doesn't need to broadcast every irritation. He carries them, he adapts, he acts where he can, and he accepts where he must. And people notice. They respect the one who stands calm in difficulty more than the one who fills silence with endless grievances. Here's the brutal truth. Complaints solve nothing. They don't move obstacles, fix relationships, or change circumstances. They waste breath and weaken spirit. Action moves mountains. Acceptance brings peace. Complaining only multiplies weight until it crushes both you and those near you. Ask yourself this: how many times have you complained only to feel worse afterward? Did the problem shrink, or did your frustration grow? Respect yourself enough to break the cycle. When the urge rises, pause and ask, is this helping me? Most times the answer is no. Then ask, what can I do? And if nothing can be done, ask, how can I accept? These small questions shift the ground. They move you from victim to warrior. Think of a leader you admire. Are they the one who whines in the face of hardship, or the one who carries hardship with stillness? Greatness is not in having fewer problems. It is in having fewer complaints. People gravitate to those who radiate calm in chaos, because they remind us of the strength we could summon too. At this stage, the lesson is sharp and undeniable. Complaining gets you nowhere. It doesn't lighten your load, it doubles it. Respect belongs not to the one who groans at every stone on the path, but to the one who walks with steady feet despite them. Rise above complaint, and you rise above the common. Rise above, and you walk with dignity. And dignity, that silent strength, is what people will always remember. Advancing to the 6th chapter, imagine the silent wound caused by lateness. You promise to arrive at 7. They wait. The room grows still as the minutes pass. Glances at the clock sharpen. Patience thins, and by the time you walk in, smiling, apologizing, armed with reasons, you've already delivered a message louder than words. My time is more important than yours. At first, people forgive. A friend shrugs it off. A colleague lets it slide. But repeat the pattern and the tolerance fades. Habit becomes reputation. Lateness becomes identity. And with each late arrival, respect that erodes trust until nothing solid remains. Seneca captured the truth. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Chronic lateness is waste, waste of your time and of theirs. You may not mean disrespect, but intention does not erase effect. The person waiting feels devalued. They wonder, if I matter, why couldn't you be here when you said you would? Consider the toll on your own life. Lateness breeds stress. You rush out the door, breathless, keys misplaced, always behind. Your mind never arrives with your body. You walk in, scattered, apologetic, playing catch-up. That chaos drains peace, sabotages performance, and sets the tone for the rest of the day. You are not in control. Time controls you. Now contrast that with the power of punctuality. Imagine arriving 5 minutes early. You breathe. You prepare. You sit in stillness as others shuffle in. When the moment begins, you are centered, present, already composed. That small act radiates something rare in today's frantic world: reliability. People notice it, even if they don't say a word. Marcus Aurelius urged, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Punctuality is one of the simplest yet most profound ways to embody this. It is not just about clocks, it is about discipline, respect, and integrity. To show up on time is to declare, "I honor my commitments, I honor your time, I honor myself." There's a story of a CEO whose reputation rested not only on his brilliance, but on his punctuality. He was never late, not to a major board meeting, not to a quick coffee chat. One day, at a high-level gathering, several executives drifted in late. The CEO stood, looked at them and said, "Time is the most valuable resource we have. If you cannot respect it, you cannot be part of this team." Then he walked out. That single act carried more force than any lecture. It showed that punctuality was not courtesy, it was principle. Epictetus taught, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." If you see yourself as someone worthy of trust and respect, act like it. The man who is punctual communicates something profound. I can be counted on. And in a world where excuses abound, that rare reliability is a form of quiet power. Think of your own patterns. How many times have you been late, not because of disaster, but because you squeezed in one more task? How many times did you underestimate the time needed, convincing yourself, "I'll make it," only to arrive late once again? Those choices accumulate. Over time, lateness becomes the story people tell about you. He's brilliant, but unreliable. And once that story sticks, it is hard to erase. Lateness is not about the clock, it is about priorities. We find time for what we value. If you are always late to a commitment, what you truly say is, "It did not matter enough to plan for." This is why lateness cuts deeper than we admit. It signals misplaced priorities, lack of discipline, and disregard for others. So pause the next time you think, "I can send one more email," or "I can finish one more thing before leaving." Ask yourself, is this worth the impression I'm about to leave behind? Because impressions linger longer than apologies. On time, you build trust. Late, you break it. At this stage, the truth is clear. Time is the currency of life. Waste yours, and you lose opportunities. Waste others, and you lose respect. Discipline over your schedule is discipline over your life. Choose punctuality, and you choose peace, order, and dignity. Choose lateness, and you choose chaos. So let your presence arrive not late and rushed, but steady and reliable. Because in the end, punctuality is not just about being on time, it is about being the kind of person others can depend on. And that is a reputation that will carry you further than any excuse ever will. At this stage, let us confront one of the most destructive habits of all, the posture of the victim. Picture a man walking through life with shoulders slumped, his words heavy with blame. Nothing ever works out, not because of his choices, but because the world is unfair, others are cruel, fate is stacked against him. At first you may pity him, but over time you step back because pity soon turns to fatigue. Respect does not live long in the shadow of self-pity. Now, imagine the temptation in your own heart when life strikes hard. A failed relationship, a lost opportunity, an unfair outcome. The voice rises quickly. Why me? It feels good to lean on excuses, to offload the pain onto something outside of yourself. But what begins as comfort soon becomes a trap. The more you claim victimhood, the more powerless you feel. And soon you believe the lie you tell, that you have no control, that life is something that only happens to you. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who bore the weight of an empire, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you live as a victim, you deny that power. You hand away the only control you were ever meant to hold, the control over your response. When you hand away your power, you hand away the very ground on which respect is built." I've seen people consumed by this mindset. Their lives became a litany of grievances. The boss didn't see their worth. Their family didn't support them. Society was against them. At first, I tried to listen, but after a while, the weight of their blame became unbearable. I wasn't leaving because I disliked them. I was leaving because their energy drained me. And isn't that what you do too, when someone endlessly rehearses their victimhood? You withdraw, not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. Contrast that with those who face adversity with dignity. Maybe you've met someone who lost everything, money, health, relationships, yet refused to crumble. They asked not, "Why me?" but "What can I do now?" They rose, step by step. And in their rising they drew others near. Their resilience was magnetic, their strength contagious. People admire not those who are spared trials, but those who transform trials into growth. Epictetus taught, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is the dividing line. The victim gives away his choice. The author of his own life claims it. This shift, though small, is revolutionary. The moment you stop blaming and start acting, you stop being a pawn of circumstance and become its master. Think of your own patterns. Where have you played the victim? Perhaps you told yourself the relationship failed because she never understood you, or that the promotion slipped away because your boss played favorites. But what happens when you ask, instead, what could I have done better? How can I grow from this? Suddenly, power returns. Growth becomes possible. Respect, both from others and from yourself, begins to take root. The sad truth is that while you stay stuck in victimhood, others move on. They connect with people who take responsibility, who face hardship head-on. They admire those who refuse to be defined by setbacks. If you stay in self-pity, you stay behind. But here lies the good news. It is never too late to change. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The very obstacles you suffer can become your greatest teachers if you dare to see them that way. Victimhood is not destiny, it is a choice. And so is resilience. So ask yourself, will I be the one who collapses into blame or the one who rises into strength? Respect flows toward the latter, never the former. When you choose to stop playing the victim, you choose to reclaim your life. And in that choice, you not only gain the trust of others, you also gain back the respect of the person who matters most, yourself. Subscribe now and grow stronger with Stoic wisdom every day.